What? Bang!
Wrestling podcast. Just when they think they got the answers, I change the question.
Rep, screw, rep.
Yeah.
Woo!
Who are you to doubt El Dandy? Because this guy's a serious professional.
Can he do it? Unbelievable.
I'm too hot to handle and too cold to hold. And I am Macho King Savage.
Shut your mouth, you thong-wearing fatty. I said WWE stands for. It's me, Austin. I will never retire.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hey, yo, Pro Wrestling Podcast listeners, welcome to the show where we don't sing it, we bring it. Help us out and click subscribe to show your support. Are you sick and tired of dropping $60 to $100 for the latest and greatest wrestling video game? Stop immediately. Go to Wrestler Unstoppable, available exclusively through Facebook. You get to create a wrestler, sign contracts, get into storylines, headline pay-per-views, even build your own corporation, all included in Wrestler Unstoppable, available now to all Facebook users, totally free. If you want to become a member of the Pro Wrestling Podcast family, you want your name in the shout-outs like my good buddy John down in Texas. John, hope you're tuning into the show today. The PLE should be great. Check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Pro Wrestling Podcast. Sign up today. Don't forget we got loyalty rewards. Anybody who is a $15 a month contributor, you get to co-host a live episode with myself, and our $7.50 a month contributors enter into a drawing to also co-host a live show with me. Hello everybody, welcome to this episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast. If you've got questions, you've got comments, something you want us to touch on in the future episode, drop us a line at the Pro Wrestling Sound Off line 267-642-1160. Give us questions, comments, anything you want us to talk about, and we'll get into those in a future episode. So today, the big conversation is Bash in Berlin. We're going to talk about the card, what we think is going to happen, offer predictions, and if you would like, offer some comments down below so that we can see how you feel about our perspective on things. First off, let's talk about the card as a whole. We only have 5 announced matches, which I understand WWE is trying to go with a more streamlined PLE approach, and they have these more limited cards. They don't want, it's almost like the opposite of AEW, giving you like 12 matches on the all-in card. These guys going for the opposite, going for a significantly smaller one. But I feel like WWE's approach is to create storylines where the peripheral information, the interviews, the outside the ring work can take up a significant portion of time and remain compelling. Now, 5 matches on a PLE seems a little light for me. It wouldn't, except when you look at the match card, right? I could see Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes going very long. I could see the Terror Twin match probably taking a little longer. Punk and Drew is going to take a long time. Gunther and Randy Orton will take a while. I do think the women's tag team match will be much more abbreviated. But even with 4 relatively solid extended matches, you're still not looking at the conventional 4 to 4.5 hour pay-per-view we would have seen way back in the day. This is a much more I would say confined wrestling show with really focused storylines. Now, the only problem with that is the remainder of the roster doesn't really get the opportunity to be on the show. I understand you can't always have everybody on every show, but think about who's not on this show. There is no Sami Zayn. There's no Intercontinental Championship match Braun Breaker. There's no Ilya Dragunov, even though they're in his territory. You know what I'm saying? There's no Jey Uso. There's no bloodline involvement whatsoever. Those are all concerns to me if this is supposed to be considered an actual PLE. Otherwise, this kind of comes off as a glorified international house show, and I get it. You're trying to bring something to an audience that doesn't typically have WWE programming in their backyard, but at the same time, you don't want the fans to start to think that, I don't really have to go to this show because it's just a house show. Nothing important's going to happen there. So they stop attending. This is the first time. Think about the Wembley attendance for All In. Last year, over 80,000. This year, around 50,000. It's a significant drop-off. Once, the cat's out of the bag and you've been there, done that. What happens next year at Bash or Berlin? Or another PLE that you decide to run in Germany? You have to give the fans something that makes this feel special. And part of that is very easy in that you create something that a larger percentage of your talent pool is able to participate in. And I don't exactly know what that is. Obviously we can't have a Royal Rumble style match on every PLE, but we could have had a Battle Royal for something, or I don't know. I mean, there's so many options you can go with, but they should have done something to get more people involved. Have a lumberjack match for somebody's match, just so people are out there. Where's the Chad Gables and American Alpha? Where's the Wyatt Six? Like, I get it. Like, there's only so many spots on the card, but you only used up 5 spots. So, little unique, so to speak. So, we'll go that route and just say that it's unique. And I don't know if I love it or hate it, but I guess we'll find out more at the end of the show. Now, I'm going to try to do these analysis and prediction in the order that I believe that they will take place on the card if I were WWE trying to maximize the crowd response and keep people engaged throughout the show. So I would start the show with the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship, or just the Undisputed WWE Championship. I know they online still list the Universal Championship as being part of that mixture, which is very strange to me. If the original championship was the WWE and the Universal, but the WWE was a combination of the WWE and the World, but now the World is back. You know what I mean? There's like a weird dynamic there. So not going off on too much of a tangent, but Cody Rhodes, the champion, defending against Kevin Owens. I don't think there's a person walking the face of the planet who believes that Kevin Owens is winning this championship. Came out today on NoDQ.com and several other outlets that Kevin Owens at WWE is anticipating not re-signing him in 2025 when his contract comes due, which I think is insane. I'm sorry, but if I look at the competition and I see AEW and I see that they only have 2,000 tickets over this week's Dynamite and 3,000 for a week later, and that their Dynamite ticket sales are so low, I would not be allowing them to get any injection of life if WWE's goal is to not allow them to become a legitimate competitor. If you want the competition because it drives business, then fine, let Kevin Owens walk and let him go do some new things in a place he's never been. But for me, Kevin Owens has been like one of the pillars. You talk about pillars in AEW. He's been a pillar of WWE programming for the last 10 years. He'll do anything you need him to do. He can be any character you need him to be. He gets an incredible crowd response every time he goes out there, and you get the perception he's a legitimate tough guy, and I love that. And he's also a great family man. He's a great ambassador for the company, so I would keep Kevin Owens at all costs. But the word is last contract was for $2.5 to $3 million a year. It sounds like WWE is not interested in renewing that. We'll see what happens in 2025. But in the meantime, back to the match itself. Cody Rhodes waited far too long and had to go through too many obstacles to win that championship to drop it only 4 or 5 months later at Bash at Berlin. There is no chance in heck Cody Rhodes loses the championship. Cody Rhodes retains in the opening match of the night. Match number 2, and I'm going in this order simply for this fact. If you listen to Chris Jericho, one of his biggest complaints about WWE, and one of the reasons he chose to leave, was because of the placement of his match at WrestleMania, because he considers the number 2 spot to be like almost a throwaway spot on the card. And I hate to say it that way because I don't mean to insult anybody in the match, because I think all 4 are incredible talents. But what I've noticed is, as much as I love what Triple H has done in the last several months, I get concerned sometimes when I see what is either repetitive booking or what can be construed as almost lazy booking. And again, I'm not trashing Triple H either. I don't know how you do it another way. Second match, I predict, is going to be the unholy union of Alba Fire and Isla Dawn taking on Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship. Now, I've heard several media outlets, Wrestle Talk, who I have immense respect for, What Culture, several of them talking about how the Unholy Union have really done almost nothing with these championships. I actually have a little bit different take on that, in that they've been featured essentially on both shows for the last several weeks, both in programs with the Kabuki Warriors and the Pure Fusion Collective on Raw, while also keeping the momentum going over here with Bianca and Jade over on SmackDown, and other teams thrown in here and there. The Party Girls for a little while and stuff like that. So I don't necessarily think they did nothing with the championship, and I would argue that the match that they won over the Pure Fusion Collective and Damage Control was incredibly impressive, because you're taking out two of the top teams on that brand. The concern I have is there's just simply not enough competition if you keep separating the brands. But if you don't separate the brands, then is the women's tag team division not assigned to a specific branch, which becomes problematic for, say, Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, who I'm sure at some point they're going to split up and have a feud. They have to be assigned somewhere. So I don't know. I think this match goes on second. I have heard several prediction shows, many of them saying Belair and Jade get the belts back. I hope not. And it's not because Jade and Belair don't deserve it, and it's not that they're not the best team probably in the company right now. That's not the issue for me. The issue for me is you did nothing with the Unholy Union for a year. They lost in, I want to say, May 23, weren't really seen until like April of 24. They're shortly after put immediately into a championship feud for these belts against Belair and Jade. They go to their home country, win it in front of their home crowd because the WWE didn't want to switch any other championships at that show. And then what happens? The next opportunity you get, you take the belts off them. It makes it denigrates their run, if you want to call it that, with that championship. It makes it look like you're just pandering to the crowd. I don't like that. I would love to see the Unholy Union retain here. Keep the championship. Let Belair and Jade start to sow the seeds of some kind of dissension within their tag team and eventually go off and do their own program. Keep the championship on the Unholy Union because they don't have the same role that Bianca and Jade have. Bianca and Jade could stand on their own 2 feet without a championship and be a premier attraction on any show. Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, for all they are some of the most incredible young ladies, incredibly talented, they're not carrying your show on a Monday night or a SmackDown. It's just not happening. So for me, keeping the championship on Fire and Dawn makes it so they become more legitimate. They defeat an incredible duo in Belair and Cargill, and you led some credibility to that tag team. But you also, the more important thing to me, is you take people who otherwise would not find themselves in a main event opportunity, and by giving them a championship, at least you make them relevant. And you give them the respect of acknowledging their talent. And that's what I would prefer WWE do. So my prediction, against what many people are saying, is the Unholy Union retains the Women's Tag Team Championship. Match 3. This is where it gets hairy for me, okay? We have 2 barn burner matches left, and one that's going to get the crowd just absolutely cranked up. And I think depending on where you place these matches, you don't want to have the same issue that Britt Baker and Mercedes Moné had at All In, where the crowd gets deflated because they've been blown up by somebody else. So I'm going to say you go with the Terror Twins, Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley, versus the Judgment Day, Dirty Dom and Liv Morgan, in a mixed tag team match. And look, I've seen people debate this all day long. I think what people overlook, everybody seems to want to see Rhea Ripley hit the Riptide on Dominic. I would love to see that too. I don't know if you do it here. I actually think what may be better for the company would be for her to tease it a few times and have it broken up and not do it in this match. I also do not think the Terror Twins should win, which is not a popular opinion. I believe that the end-all for this feud is not Rhea and Liv, and it is not Damian Priest and Dominic. I think the end-all, what we all suspect, is that Damian Priest and Finn Balor, which I'll get to in a moment, and Rhea Ripley versus Dominic, one-on-one. And I think she hits that move there. And I think that match should come at Bad Blood, and the Liv Morgan match should wait, and let that be the blow-off after she gets Dom. And that way Dom is out of the equation. She hits the ripcord on him. He's hurt. He cannot be there when Liv faces Rhea, and it's just an old-fashioned, throwdown between Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan in the future. In terms of Damian Priest, he has to get to a program with Finn Balor, who is not on this card, despite the fact that he's got such a history in Europe and in Germany. I think in this match, Finn Balor is the difference maker. He will come down and cost Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley, I say, the Judgment Day walk out as winners and keep this feud going. Now we get to the part that I really am stressed about. CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre or Gunther versus Randy Orton, and which one should go on last? And I think what it boils down for me is Gunther is going to get an insane pop no matter when his match is, as will Randy Orton. CM Punk and Drew McIntyre is the most invested feud that WWE has across all brands, including the Bloodline. So that creates an issue. Do you let Gunther go on last in his hometown, or do you have the biggest program go last? And I think because Triple H is such a respectful person of the business, of the history, of all the contributions that various individuals across the world have brought to the game, I think that he will respect Gunther and allow him to go on last. That being said, I predict CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre goes on fourth in the strap match. And if we're looking at this, we have to get to a third match at Bad Blood, which everyone suspects will be a Hell in a Cell match between these two. I don't know who will win that, but I will say I believe that CM Punk wins this match, because this match is what is going to be the catalyst for a Hell in a Cell match later on down the line. I think Punk has to win this one. I think it's going to be incredibly physical. I'm more concerned about Punk getting hurt during this match than anything, because I don't want to lose that third match. But I think these two are going to absolutely tear the house down. It's going to be incredible, which is what I fear for the Gunther match. I think after Punk and Drew, I don't know if anybody's going to be able to get up for Gunther and Orton. But I do predict CM Punk wins that match and eventually leads to Hell in a Cell. The final match of the night, for me at least, is Gunther, the champion, the World Heavyweight Champion, defending against Randy Orton. They have done a nice job of hyping up the fact that if Orton wins this, it'll be number 15, and he'll be literally one behind tying the record. I respect that. I think that's good marketing, but I don't think it gives your fans the credit that they deserve for being too smart to see through it. Yes, would it be 15? You've got plenty of time for 15. You really do. Unless you're going to take it off him and give it right back to him, because that would give Orton 15, and then the program with Cena that comes later at some point, or the program, actually, if you really want to book long-term, I said Cena, I apologize. You could have Randy win here 15. You could have him lose it back to Gunther, come back and face Cody for 16, and then have him go to WrestleMania and face John Cena, and Cena's going for 17. That would be interesting. I don't think they'll do that. I do think you'll see Randy Orton versus Cody sooner than later, possibly at WrestleMania. I think you could easily see Orton versus Cena at Mania. But I just don't see Randy Orton being the World Heavyweight Champion. I think in this match in Germany, how do you go against Gunther? You can't. He is incredibly over. He adds prestige and just an incredible presence. He is really the face of that World Heavyweight Championship now. After Seth Rollins did an amazing job with the belt, he is picked up where Seth Rollins left off and is running with it. So my prediction is Gunther retains the championship over Randy Orton, but I do expect it to be an incredibly physical match. I suspect that because of what happened at the King and Queen of the Ring, they'll do an angle somewhere where somebody will start to get pinned and their shoulder will come up, and maybe the referee will count it, and it'll lead to, hey, wait a minute, no, it's not a 3, some kind of mass confusion. But in the end, it could be the match that steals the show. It should be incredibly physical. I do not want to see these two men's chests after the match. I'm sure they're going to chop everything out of each other, but it should be an incredible opportunity and a fantastic match. This is one of those shows where, in all seriousness, the matches are going to be phenomenal. It's not about the matches. It's too predictable. You know what I'm saying? Me, for one, I participate in, and this is a selfless plug for my favorite show on the internet, Wrestle Talk News. Ollie Davis and his crew, they run Wrestle League. And by all means, feel free to check out Wrestle League, where you basically, it's like fantasy football for wrestling. You're picking the winners every week. It's almost like a knockout pool, sort of. You pick a Joker pick, which gets double points. Championship matches are worth even more points. And you go against all these other fans. You go win prizes after every show. There's a seasonal prize. They run 4 seasons for the 4 quarters of the year, starting and ending with WWE major PLEs. By all means, check that out. But these are the same picks I picked for that. So obviously, if you go sign up for that, you're going to end up going head-to-head with me with the same picks if you happen to agree with me. But looking at what everybody else has predicted, I think this card, it's just too predictable. And that's complicating things when you're hoping for some surprise, some shock. Maybe there'll be some side angle or some crazy appearance or some star that we don't anticipate seeing show up out of nowhere and do something. I would love that. Perhaps with R-Truth is out with quote-unquote injury, even though we all know it's a work and all that. Do you do something with Bronson Reed? I don't know. But they should do something with somebody. Seth Rollins should have a presence on the show, but he's out for the Bronson Reed thing. So, there's so many people missing that it just feels a little lacking. I know last night on SmackDown they did the U.S. Championship Open Challenge. I would have done that on this show. I really would have. The heck with SmackDown. Make SmackDown the glorified house show. Make this a more substantial show. I would have put the LA Knight match on here, but they've already done that. Maybe LA Knight comes out and says something. Maybe Braun comes out and says something. But I hope they do something else to fill the show. That's all the time we have for this episode. Check back with us next episode where we'll run down the latest wrestling news and rumors. Special thanks goes out to bensound.com and purpleplanet.com for producing any music or sound effects we use in our show. That's actually not true anymore. For those who were listening, at the onset of the show, we have our brand new entrance music. We made that ourselves. The exit music is still attributed to bensound.com at ProPlanet.com, so thank them for that. Today's podcast sponsored in part by Beazle Games. Bring a new friend to family game night. It's easy with sketchy people. Showcase your artistic side with this game from Beazle Games by going to thegamecrafter.com and pick up your copy today. If you're looking for your next career move, you're considering college or university life, or you just need some formal training for your next career decision, go to our sister website at frolifeplanning.com for all your higher education needs, as Fro Life Educational Planning is for today, for tomorrow, and for life with Fro Life. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Dr. Fro. I want to thank you so much for participating today. If you have questions or comments, give us a shout at that sound off line, 267-642-1160. And until next time, I'll talk to you later. Enjoy the matches. Enjoy Bash Berlin.